trooper with 7 years of service and a former Navy Chief Petty Officer with the United States Navy with 20 years of service. And tonight I'm with my brother, Michael Bradley, who is a 26-year police veteran out of Pleasanton, California. And we're also childhood friends. We both grew up in Canton, Ohio. Tonight, we're going to be talking about routine versus non-routine traffic stops and why traffic stops go bad. But before we get into that, I want to make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our channel so that you stay up to date with all our latest videos. Excuse me. Also, check us out on Facebook. You can leave us a comment on there if you like the content of this video here we're doing tonight. And on Instagram as well. You can hit us up on there and communicate with us that way as well. Leave a comment down below if you have any additional comments or statements you'd like to make to us, and we'll respond to you as quickly as possible. So before we actually get into it, like I said, I do have a question that was asked to us about carry concealed. Real quick, each state is different, so check with your local authorities on that, on your carry conceal, and all the requirements that are required of you to have that permit. For the state of Virginia, however, the question was about are there code words that citizens need to know to let the officer know that they have a weapon on them? And the answer to that real quick is no. There are no code words. When here in Virginia, when the officer runs your license plates or your identification card, your driver's license, it's going to come back that you have a carry concealed permit. It's linked to your DMV driving record here for the state of Virginia. And so we'll know if we run your tag, we'll know if you have a carry concealed. Now, one of the things most people do when in situations like this, they'll put both hands out the driver's side window. And that's kind of like the international signal, if you will, that they have a weapon on board or on their person. And then as we approach the vehicle, they'll let us know, hey, trooper, or hey, officer, I have a weapon on me. And from there, we'll let you know what to do. Either I can get you out the car and take the weapon off you, make it safe, and put it back in the car somewhere. Or I just simply, hey, whatever you do, just leave your hands on the steering wheel, leave your hands out the window until we're done. So that's the short and quick answer to it. There's no code words for that. So just make sure you are able to carry conceal. Mike, how's that work in California?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same. There's not necessarily any when we do a traffic stop or something, it's not necessarily going to come up on a registration information that you're a concealed carry holder. However, the point out here in California is if you are carrying a concealed weapon, it's just important to let the officer know. That's all. There's no code words, nothing secretive about it. It's best to right out the gate let the officer know I'm carrying a concealed firearm. It's in my waistband or wherever you're carrying your concealed firearm. Just let the officer know. And it's just safety issues. Nothing wrong with having a concealed carry permit to have a weapon. If you have that, that's fine. We're definitely not telling you not to. If you legally can carry a firearm, by all means, there's nothing wrong with that. But you still need to let the officer know. Don't go reaching for it or anything like that. As an officer, I just want to know that you're carrying one if I'm dealing with you. That's all. It's just safety reasons. That's a good point there, Corey.
Okay. All right. Again, if you got a question you want to ask us, hit us up again on Facebook, Instagram, or leave us in the comments. Leave your question in the comments below. Excuse me. All right. So without further ado, we are talking about routine versus non-routine traffic stops and why traffic stops go bad. And if you'd ask some officers this question, it's probably one of the ones that they don't like to hear when there's an officer involved shooting, is that it was a routine traffic stop that led to it. Well, there's nothing routine about a traffic stop, because every officer knows that in a minute it can go south. And south is what we say goes bad. So for me, every stop I go on, it's keeping your head on the swivel, because we don't know what we're about to get into. You would want it to be uh, routine by, hey, you go up there, they're nice, polite, and cooperative. You tell them the violation, you issue them a summons, and hey, they're on their way. 90% of the time, yes, that's how it usually works, but that doesn't make it routine. For example, I had just been on a force, I don't know, less than 6 months, and I was working evening shift, and it was dark out, and a guy comes by speeding at 78 into 60. I initiate the traffic stop, and as soon as he got stopped over on the right shoulder, and I get stopped, I mean, I barely got the car in park, and he's taking off running back to me, and I get my seatbelt off real quick, and I get out the car, and I pull my weapon out. I'm like, hey man, let me see your hand. Stop. Don't come any closer to me. And as he sees the weapon, oh, hey. Now I see, he don't have nothing in his hands. But you don't do that. That's for sure right there. Why traffic stop just went bad, right? And this is why we say when you get pulled over, you stay in your vehicle. That's your number one thing. Stay in the vehicle. Don't get out the vehicle. And it no longer has become.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. Because a lot of people would think that why the extremeness of pulling out your firearm in a situation like that. I think some citizens may not understand that. But when an officer goes on a traffic stop, he or she is always thinking tactically. So we have to think safety first. We have to assume that everybody we come across might be carrying a gun. That's possible. You see what I'm saying? We have to assume that everybody we come across might be a threat. They might be a threat on a traffic stop.
Yeah.
We don't know that. You see what I'm saying?
Know.
So we have to be ready in all cases. So if you send that red flag of someone getting out of their car and running back towards you, that's one of the biggest red flags. So we're gonna pull out a firearm on you first, because we don't know exactly what you are up to by running back towards us. Are you coming back to attack us? Are you coming back because you want to yell at us? We can't afford to wait for you to come back and get close enough to us to be able to do something wrong. So that's why it's extremely important not to get out of that car and run back unless you are specifically told to do so. And in which case, we would never tell you to run anywhere as an officer, right? So you're right about that, Corey. I just wanted to point that out, because some people might, well, why did you pull out your firearm? He didn't have a gun on you. We don't have to wait to see if you got a gun, because if we have to wait until to confirm that you have a firearm, it's too late. You already got the drop on us, and you might have shot us.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So we can't afford to wait to see what you might do before we have to take some kind of action. And that's important for citizens to understand.
And he could have had a knife on him, even though, once he started charging back, it's dark and I couldn't see his hands until he saw that gun come up. Then he throws his hands up and like, oh, now I see, okay, there's nothing in his hands, but I don't want you to get that close to me. There's something we say that 21-foot rule, right? And if you're less than 21 feet away from an officer and you have a knife on you, there's a probability still high that you could injure or kill that officer within less than 21 feet. I don't want you to get that close to me if I don't know, can't determine what you have on you, right? And so at that time, as a trooper, we didn't carry tasers. So my level of force was pull out my service weapon, get you to stop. And along with the verbal commands of stop and let me see your hands. That worked, and got him back in the vehicle. And then from that point on, like I said, that was a one-way conversation. He I can assure you he'll probably never do that again. And that's how a traffic stop can go by. That's just one example. I mean, there's thousands of other reasons why traffic stop can go bad, and this is why I get a little upset. And I'll be honest, a little upset when I hear on media that hey, it was a routine traffic stop. No. When you stop an individual and everything is cordial, and then you let them know the violation they committed, and let them know that hey, sit tight, I'll be back with you. And everybody knows, well, I won't say everybody, majority of the citizens know when the officer tells you sit tight, I'll be right back, probably you getting a ticket, right? That seems pretty standard knowledge. And so, after I wrote the ticket, I go back up to this gentleman and then started talking to him. And then all of a sudden he flips the script. I'm like, wait a minute. 5 minutes ago, everything was cool. It was like, you knew you messed up. Hey, yep, my fault, blah, blah, blah. Now all of a sudden, man, who was this dude? Where did he come from? Did you switch seats with somebody? What in the world? And so now again, that no longer became a routine traffic stop, right? It had all the makings of going bad. And so, it was me, hey, calm down, man. What happened? Talking like you and I are talking. Excuse me. I mean, I didn't have to raise my voice to let him know, man, hey man, it's a ticket. You knew you were getting this. This is not a surprise. And once I broke it down to him, I guess he was thinking because maybe we develop a somewhat a cool thing between us. He would just get off with a warning or whatever. But no, he got a ticket. But man, there's no reason to flip the script, right? So the next thing is now he's probably gonna run a refuse. Now I'm gonna have to snatch him up and get him out the car. Within department policy, getting him out of the vehicle. And who knows, thank God it didn't have to come to that. But for me, that's why I don't like hearing, it was a routine traffic.
Word routine.
Yeah, it drives me nuts.
Mm-hmm. No, I see what you're saying. When we in briefing at the start of our shifts, as a patrol officer out here in California, at the start of our shifts, we have something that's called patrol briefings that we do at the beginning of every shift. And we always do, just like you were saying, we do hate to say that this is a routine traffic stop because something could happen just like that. Mm-hmm. We can't afford to have the mind frame of everything is routine, because that's when you become complacent, and that's when you could get yourself killed. Yes. You see what I'm saying? If you come, all it takes is one wrong traffic stop to come across the wrong person that may seem innocent and may seem fine at first glance, but then next thing you know, you walking up to the car and they turn around and got the drop on you and putting a gun on you and shooting you. Yeah. A traffic stop makes an officer one of the most vulnerable targets, if you will, of that job, because you have to approach that car, right? You are the driver of that car already has an advantage over you because they know where you at. They know what you got. You see what I'm saying? If they have a firearm, they could have it right in their lap or something like that. And as soon as you get close enough, they can turn right around and pop you one. And that's the end of that. You see what I'm saying? So, there is no, like you said, there's no such thing as traffic stops that are just routine mentally when we say that, because we want to always not become complacent and be safe. So when citizens, when they think that, oh, it's just a traffic stop, he should have known I wasn't going to do this, or the officer should have known that I wasn't trying to hurt him or something like that. No, your actions dictates exactly what that officer is probably going to think. You see what I'm saying? I had one where a situation where I had a traffic stop once, and I walked up to the driver's side. There was a driver and a passenger in the car. So, I go through my regular routine of getting all their documents and telling them. At that time, I even told them what I was going to do. I was going to write them something that we call a courtesy citation, which is like a written warning instead of a regular ticket, right? So they were nice. When I was at the window, the driver was really nice. Went with the program. Okay, officer, I appreciate it, I understand. So then I go back and I start writing my written warning. All of a sudden, the driver and they decide that I was taking too long on what I was doing, and they both got out of the car. So now I'm on the road, on the side of the road with traffic passing. I got the driver exiting his car after I told him to stay put until I got back. The driver exits his car and the passenger exits the car. Still don't talk about the biggest red flags. That's a red flag right out the gate.
Oh yeah.
You don't know what's going on with them. Fortunately, in that particular situation, I was able to just use verbal commands and tell them to be seated back in the car. After some few words exchange of them venting, I guess, if you will, about why I was taking so long, they did decide to get back into the car. But that's a situation where you take a quote unquote routine traffic stop, right? That could have quickly went south the other way simply because the driver and occupants of the car decided not to follow the instructions of what I was trying to give them, what the officer was trying to give them. So that's important. Officers never want to be complacent and think that something can't happen. That's why it's so important that the citizen follows the instructions exactly how the officer needs you to follow.
Right.
Just to prevent anything more from escalating or happening. The citizen's actions is what is going to escalate that contact. You see what I'm saying? 99% of the time. So they just have to follow what the officer is saying.
Right. And for me, what I will say that is routine is me starting my shift normally like I do, getting myself dressed and ready to go, making sure my car is squared away, getting gas and making sure I'm on the road in my assigned area at that particular time. That's routine. And at the end of the shift, I come up. You know what? I can't even really say the end of the shift. It's not over routine with at the end of the shift would be me pulling into my driveway, downloading everything, shutting everything off, my computer, my camera, and everything, and taking everything in the house. That would be routine. The end of my shift, how I end my shift. Now, I say that because there was one time a block away from my house, Mike, a guy had ran a stop sign. And I was just going to give him a warning. That's it. I mean, I was minutes from getting off and I was literally a block from my house, like literally around the corner. And he runs a stop sign. I was like, all right, I'm just going to give him a warning because we had kids in the neighborhood and blah, blah, blah. And so I get him stopped. I approach the vehicle, right? And as I get to the vehicle, I see in the passenger seat, he has a gun. And I say, hey, man, whatever you do, don't touch that gun. Now, again, we have open carry in the state of Virginia. I'm fine with that. I mean, I've stopped hundreds of people that had their gun sitting in the passenger seat or it's up in the dashboard. No problem. It's visible. I can see it. So I say to him, hey, just leave your hands on the steering wheel. Don't touch that weapon, whatever you do. What does he do? Oh, trooper, it's not loaded. I said, I don't care if it's not loaded. Don't touch it. No, it's not. It's not. He proceeds to go to grab the weapon. And hey, man, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Right? Now, I'm watching his movement. Right? And I know what he was getting ready to do. He was chambering it back and to show me it wasn't loaded. But that could have went bad really quickly if I didn't pay attention to what he was doing with that weapon. Now, he still had the barrel pointed away. He didn't swing it towards me. If he
Right.
had made that sudden move, it'd been a very bad day for him. Right?
Mhm.
My heart dropped to my stomach. Because the only thing I could, what if he still got the jump on me and shot? Man, I'm around the corner from my house. And you want to talk to me about routine? No, there's no such thing as a routine traffic stop. I'm sorry. You can dislike that. I'm fine with that. But until you've been in that situation to know how bad it can go real quickly, because only thing he had to do was just don't touch the gun. What are you doing? And notice I did not reveal the color of this individual. He was
Because
black.
it didn't matter at that
It
point.
didn't matter.
It
I
was
didn't care
about
what that
this
right,
person, whether or not he was doing something you told him not to.
right. And color had nothing to do with it. Right. As I mean, yeah, we can get into about race and everything, but listen, when it comes to a gun, when I'm telling you, don't touch it. How many times you want me to tell you? Now, thank God, it came to the point me. All right, watch the weapon, watch the weapon, watch the weapon. What's he doing with it? What's he doing with it? I see him racking it back, right? And I can see it now when he does that. Okay, I see it. There's nothing in it. He didn't. Matter of fact, I don't think he had the magazine in it. Right. I then snatched that gun out of his hand quick, and we had a long conversation on the side of the road, and we talked about how bad this could have been for both of us.
Yeah.
For the simple fact, you would have been dead, and me, my whole life and career would have been ruined, because now I'm gonna be held accountable for killing you, and I had to justify why I pulled that trigger. Man, my heart dropped to my stomach, Mike. I mean, this was around the corner from my house. And what if he got the drop on me and shot me and killed around the corner from my house? And so for me, this is why I said there's no such thing as a routine traffic stop. Right? The only thing that's routine is how I start the shift, and God willing, how I ended that shift. Right? Because in between, man, anything can happen.
Yeah, I agree. I understand what you're saying.
And I agree with you. That's why you have to keep your head on a swivel. Now, what if it hadn't been me? And this is what I told him. What if it wasn't me? What if it was somebody who didn't look like me? Right? And shot and killed you. Right? And then we get into, oh, he did it because he's white and you black. You know what? But it boiled down to you did not listen to the verbal command of don't touch that weapon. That's it. It could have been, and I thank God. I thank God. I thank God. I thank God. I didn't have to pull that trigger. Right. And that's the severity.
Now, we're gonna play devil's advocate here for a little bit. You know how I like to play devil's advocate every once in a while, because some citizens, they will look at it a certain way. Let's say if it wasn't you, and if it was another officer who may have been, who knows what is in the what would have been in the mind of a maybe a less experienced officer at that particular moment in time. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where he would have had to, in a split second, make a decision. Is he going to take some action with this guy grabbing that gun or not? You see what I'm saying? And because you don't know that situation, an officer doesn't have it. We don't have the benefit of slowing down time and watching in slow motion to decide what that guy is about to do when he grabs that gun. We don't have that ability or that luxury of being able to slow down time and make a split second decision in slow motion. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You have to make that decision right on point what you are going to do with that gun. Yeah, as an experienced officer, you quickly was able to process that this guy was you anticipated what that guy was going to do when he grabbed that gun. But that's just because you just so happen to anticipate that correctly. It could have been anticipated differently by another officer. You see what I'm saying? Which could have resulted in another officer shooting. You see what I'm saying? So we're just trying to tell, it's important that we want to get the message across to the citizens. Stuff like that is going to be argued all the time in court if that ends up to be a shooting. That's going to be argued. A whole bunch of things are going to come into play of whether or not a person should have been shot. You see what I'm saying? But we're trying to give the information to citizens, a view of possibly what the inside view of that officer might be thinking, which will try to explain why it's important that you follow instructions, what the officer's telling you. In that situation, you clearly told him, don't touch the gun. That would have solved everything. Nothing more would have happened.
Nothing more.
Your need to make a decision on what you were going to do did not have to happen as long as he didn't touch that gun. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's important. I think that's important.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, we want our viewers to understand that an officer has to make a decision quickly. Like I said, I was around the corner from my house, just getting ready to get off. And this was just, giving a guy a warning. And it could have went really, really bad. I just want the point to be driven home that it's so important that the acronym of CALM, comply, answer our questions, listen, and move on. Traffic stops do not have to end badly. We know.
No, they don't. As long as you do what you are supposed to do, follow those instructions by the officer.
Yeah.
Even if you don't think it's reasonable what that officer is telling you to do, it's still very important for you to do it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Traffic stops, like we said before in one of our previous videos, traffic stops are one of the most common things that police officers do. But understand that we're also trying to get you to understand how a traffic stop can become dangerous in a split second. One moment you're doing fine, the next moment it's like, whoa, I gotta make a decision because this isn't going the way I'm telling them to do. You see what I'm saying? And they're not going with the program. It's extremely important to go with the program.
Yeah, and we know our viewers that you're not the ones that are going to do things that you're not supposed to do. But again, like we said last week in our last video, we're challenging you to spread this information to those that that maybe a little hot under the collar, with authority. That's another reason why traffic stops can go bad, because the individual has a problem with authority because they probably had a bad experience with law enforcement. They don't want to go back to jail. I've had that before, but again, it ended well. Nobody got hurt. That's even though you might get into a scuffle, I look at it as still a good arrest, as long as nobody got hurt. Because at the end of the day, the officer still, like we said in our last video, the officer is responsible for everybody's safety. I know that's kind of hard to believe. People think that officers out here just gunning, African Americans down. Call it what it is. That's not the truth. That's not true. Let me rephrase that. Out of the offices that I worked out of, I don't think it's that case. I can speak for a lot of the state troopers that that's not the case. Nobody's out trying to just gun people down. just because they want to gun people down. Because, and I say that because everything that the officer has to go through, right, from that incident.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say that. It's so much. It's so for anyone to think that an officer wants to go out there and shoot someone. Number one, if there any officer out there that has that thought process,
Yeah.
obviously, number one, they have no business being a police officer.
Yeah.
Number two, they're gonna get themselves shot and killed at some point. Okay. Yeah. And number three, that's just so far out there to the left. There's so many things that an officer has to go through when he or she is involved in a shooting.
Yeah.
That you would be a fool to want to go through that unnecessarily. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Officers are less likely. As an officer, I would be less likely to shoot someone because of all the stuff that you have to go through, unless it's defending my life or someone else's life, or unless it's a situation. I always understood that there may have been situations where you might have to pull that trigger because you can't afford to see what the outcome is going to be if you didn't pull that trigger. You see what I'm saying? Sometimes there could be a situation like that guy charging you on that traffic stop. Yeah. If you would have pulled that trigger, you don't know what that guy was about to do to you. No. You see what I'm saying? No. And you couldn't afford to allow that guy to get right up on you to do something to you after you've been telling him to stop. And he's not doing that. So, you know, citizens should understand there's so many stressful things. Yeah, the person who lost their life, that's a tragic incident. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
But in those situations where that person should have followed directions and done what they were supposed to do to prevent that, you see what I'm saying? Then, you know, it is what it is. And an officer, I think, you know, in my 26 years experience of being a police officer, and I've worked in the Pleasanton Police Department in Northern California all my career. And I've never seen any officer that would come across enthusiastic or really wanting to get into some kind of shooting. You'd be a fool to want to do that. You have no business being a police officer if you think that way. You see what I'm saying? So it's just not happening like that.
Right.
It's just not happening.
You're definitely in the wrong profession to have that type of mindset. You know, tensions are so high in this country, you know, right now with law enforcement and the citizens. That's why we're doing this video, this YouTube channel, is to bring some type of I don't know, like, not bring some type of healing, if you will, to this, and to reestablish, you know, the community's trust within the police, and letting you know, some of the mindset of a police officer and why they have to make a decision, you know, the way they do, and how fast they have to do it. Because at the end of the day, you know, majority of the officers have families and things that, you know, they want to go home to too. And
absolutely.
And you know, so sorry, that was my timer. So you know, they have to make a decision, you know, real quick. And so, you know, and last thing you want to do is pull that trigger. You know, every time I had to do that, I'm praying as my actions are going to ask the Lord, please don't let me have to pull this trigger. Because even though that individual may be Black and I'm Black too, man, I don't want to drag my family through this, and I don't want to, you know, drag the department through this, because now my career is over. I mean, I got bills to pay. You know, bills don't stop because you're involved in an officer involved shooting, right? In fact, you getting more bills now because you got legal fees and everything. And nobody wins in this, right? The officer doesn't win, nor the family.
No.
Right? Nobody wins in this, right? No matter how you look at it, you know. So, you know, the biggest thing is one, when you getting stopped or you interact with the police is stay calm, no matter what. If it's just a traffic stop or they're, stopping you because you're matching the description of somebody, and they need to do an investigation, make sure you're not the person that they're looking for. You have to stay calm. You have to do what they're telling you to do, right? The more you're staying calm, the more you're staying proactive with them and listening to their commands, you're taking ammo from them from having to do something stupid or acting out of fear and them making a wrong decision. So if you comply, you're making it less for them to have to do something to you, to use of force or whatever the case may be. Um, like I said before,
Right.
our viewers, we know.
So if you haven't realized the common thread of, what we're talking about is, right or wrong, whatever the officer is doing that you agree with or don't agree with, it is most important that you do exactly what the officer is telling you to do. Follow the instructions so that you can, once again, move on. So that we're not talking about an officer involved shooting. If you get mad for jaywalking because you got stopped for jaywalking and you want to think that you're being harassed for jaywalking, well, the most is going to happen to you unless you have some warrants or something like that. Even then, if you don't have any warrants, most going to happen to you is you get a ticket and you move on. There's no need to argue, no need to be confrontational with an officer. That officer is not going to just stop what they're doing because you decide that you want to be argumentative or you want to be confrontational or you don't want to listen. That officer is not going to just turn around and say, oh, okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to go ahead and let you go on and I'm going to go to the next guy. We can't, that'd be silly. An officer would not be doing their job if he did that to everybody who decided he wants to be confrontational, if they decide to walk away and not do anything, regardless of the violation. You see what I'm saying? We'd be not enforcing the law at that point. We'd be letting everybody go. You see what I'm saying? Where do you draw the line at that?
Right.
So even if you don't agree and you have that urge to want to be angry and snap at the officer about, why are you stopping me? You didn't have to stop me. I didn't do nothing. Look, most you're going to do is get a ticket. The officer still has to justify in court why they stopped you. If you decide to go to court, that officer going to have to go and testify in court to explain why they stopped you and how they saw the violation, all of that stuff. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And above all, if you got a complaint, you can always go down to the police department and file your complaint. They will investigate the complaint. We can do another show about body-worn cameras, but in our agency, we've had body-worn cameras for quite some time. And I can't see being an officer today without using a body-worn camera. The body-worn cameras have it's something that backs that officer up as much as the citizen.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anytime a citizen would come across me and say, I got my camera on you or something, and I turn around, I got my camera on you too. So we even, right?
Right.
So, it's important to stay calm, do what you got to do. That's all.
Yeah. All right. Well, we hope you enjoyed this video. We want you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Again, if you like this content here, leave us a comment below. If you have a question about what we think about policing, leave us a comment on Facebook or over on Instagram at Brothas-in-law _21. We hope you enjoy this again. Mike, has always been a pleasure, my brother. And again,
all right.
Hey, be safe out there. We love y'all. Share this information with others, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.
Peace.